Hey there, paper crafters. Thanks so much for joining us again today. My name is Stephanie Hackney, and I'm the owner, content editor, community wrangler, and paper crafter that heads up PaperCrafter's Corner. If you've never joined us before, we do provide lots of different information, and you'll find quite a bit of that on our website at www.papercrafterscorner.com. Again, you'll find that at www.papercrafterscorner.com, and we'll also put a link down in the show notes below the video. So today's tutorial is all about clip art, and we've done actually 3 posts already on clip art and how to use it in your projects. Some of those have been done by me and some by Monica, one of our contributors. But today's is a little bit different in that the beginning of it is going to be done on the screen. So that will be still shots in the blog post. And again, we'll reference that at the bottom in the show notes, right down there. Then the rest of it is going to be live on camera so that you can see exactly how I did this project. Our sponsor for the tutorial is Dover Pictura. They are very well known in the artists and graphics community for their amazing clip art images, and they've provided those for us to use today so that we can go ahead and show you different ways that you can use clip art in your paper crafting projects. So let's get started. First of all, clip art is basically just images that you can download. You can put them into a computer program. You can put them even into a notepad or an email if you don't have a graphics program or you don't have something like Microsoft Word or PowerPoint. At the end of the tutorial, you'll find a link to the blog post that relates to this video, and there'll be step-by-step instructions on how I took the clip art image and actually put it into an email. So if you don't have a graphics program or something like Microsoft Word or PowerPoint, don't fret. You can still do this type of tutorial, and it's very, very easy. It's just a matter of either inserting or copy and pasting the clip art into whatever you're going to be using. In this case, we're using email. And I just wanted to show how easy it is to do that. So Dover Pictura is providing everybody with 3 free clip art images. And if you go onto our homepage at www.papercrafterscorner.com, you will find on the right hand side there's a little image there under visit our sponsors, and what you'll see is a little, right now it's a Thanksgiving image, and if you click on that you can sign up for their email and go ahead and grab your 3 free images. And if you want to pause the video and go take care of that and come back, that would be great too. Otherwise, we're going to go ahead and get started, and be sure to listen all the way to the end of the video because we do have some giveaway information. Dover Pictura has generously offered a $25 clip art shopping spree to one of our watchers. And again, this is in conjunction with the other posts that we've already done using their clip art. But there'll be more details at the end of the video and also in the links, which again are down there. All right, let's get started. So the first thing you're going to need to do is you're going to need to assemble all of your different supplies. And the first item is you're going to have this copy paper, and this is just your standard copy paper that you put through your printer. The second item is this wrapping tissue paper, and this is just, you know, cheap 99-cent a pack tissue paper that I bought probably last Christmas. We still have a lot left over. And the reason you need the copy paper is because you need to put this tissue onto the copy paper in order to get it to pass through the printer. If you try to put this tissue in by itself, it's just going to get eaten by the printer and most likely cause some damage. So the first step is to tape your tissue on all 4 sides to the copy paper. I've already done this one, but basically it's very simple. You're just going to take a piece of copy paper, you're going to lay your tissue down, and I recommend that you place a little piece here to get it to stay down. Place a little piece here to get it to stay down. And then you're going to take your longer pieces and you're going to go across and just get it adhered. And again, you want all of the edges to be flush. Little wrinkles like that, I find, really don't matter. I've tried it with and without, and it worked fine either way. And you're just going to want to make sure that you've got this tape down, leave a little edge on the sides. So as you can see here, I've left a little edge of tape on both sides, and you're just going to flip this paper over and tape that down. And the reason for that is you want to make sure that the printer rollers don't catch this end. So I like to have it taped over the edge of the paper, and that way it's sealed on there nice and tight. Okay, so again, now you've got your paper sealed down, and again, that's what this is. And you're ready to put this through the printer. In the blog post, we will have all the show notes, and there will be a step-by-step picture tutorial that shows you exactly how to put this into your printer, and then screenshots that show you each step of that process. And again, this time using email. And then we will also link to some other ways that you can use clip art. So Monica has done a tutorial with Photoshop Elements and with Word. She's done 2 different clip art tutorials using those programs, and I've used PowerPoint in the past. So we'll link you to those tutorials, and then you can make a choice about how you want to get your clip art into a program so that it's ready to be printed. Okay, so now we've gotten our clip art all together, and we're going to go ahead and we're going to put it onto our piece of paper. So we've taped down the tissue onto the copy paper, we've run it through our printer, and this is what you end up with. So if you use email, basically you can see this is where the text of an email would be if I were normally sending an email. And you end up with this nice image. This is one of the Dover Pictoria images, and it's ready to be cut. So the first step is to cut the clip art off the email. So this is what it looked like originally, and I just placed this part in the cutter and this part in the cutter and cut it straight across. And I do recommend that you use a cutter. You can use scissors, that works as well, but it works really well to get a nice straight line. And because you're going to see just a shadow of the tissue on our finished project, you want to make sure that you're using a cutter or a ruler with scissors so that you get a nice straight line. And again, you don't want to put the tissue into your cutter without that kind of carrier sheet, that piece of copier paper on the background. And that's because your cutter will also just tear into the tissue if you try to cut it without something more solid behind it. So now we've got those items, and what we're left with is just this nice piece of clip art. And now we've cut around, we've taken all the tape off, and you've got just a piece of tissue. This part we're going to throw away. And the next step is to take that and apply it to a candle. So this is just a very simple candle, plain white candle that I bought at TJ Maxx, yep, and it was, you know, a few dollars. You do want to make sure that you have a nice large candle. You don't want a thin candle because this tissue is going to be out there, and if the candle burns around that tissue, it could catch fire. So it's very, very important that when you are using a candle, use one that is wide enough that the candle will burn down just through the center, and that way you don't have to worry about the paper being embedded on the outside. So again, we're going to take this plastic sheet. I guess I should have done this before I started, but at least you can see that there was a protective cover on here that you need to take off. Okay, and you're left with this nice solid candle. I do recommend that you use a flat surface candle. I did also buy one with a little bit of texture, and I will try that one out as well. But I think a nice smooth surface is the best way to go with this type of a project. So we're going to lay our image on there wherever we want it, and I want it to be a little bit off center. I don't want it to be smack across the middle. And as you can see, it doesn't quite make it around. Now, if you wanted your image to go all the way around, of course, you would want to run a tape measure around the candle first, get your measurement, and then make sure that your clip art is that same size. And then if you're going to do that, overlap these two edges a little bit. Don't try to butt them up against each other because you'll get a ridge line there. Make sure that one edge covers over the other. And in case of this type of an image where you've got a border, you would probably want to make sure that you leave enough white on one side or the other and tuck that underneath the image. Okay, so since we're not having to worry about that today, we're just going to go ahead and place our image like so. And you are going to need some wax paper. So this is just a simple roll of wax paper, just the standard wax paper that you buy at your grocery store. I do not recommend using parchment paper because it doesn't have the wax that we need for this transfer. So the wax paper has a smooth side, you know, like this, and a waxy side. Make sure that you've got the waxy side. That's what you want to put against your clip art when you're doing this project. So I've already cut some up, and you can see that it's curling. This, in this case, this is the waxy side. What looks to be the outside for me is the waxy side. So I'm going to put that side down against my image. And you want to make sure that it covers all the way around. So we're going to shift this just a little bit. Maybe lay the wax paper or the image onto the wax paper first, and then curl it around. And the reason for this, because I've tried it both with and without this wax paper. The wax paper helps to seal it, but it also keeps the wax nice and smooth. If you try to heat this just by itself, you're going to get blobs of wax that are going to build up on the edges. So if you keep it like this, that makes it a nice smooth finish. And one thing to think about when you're doing this is that you want to keep the heat gun moving quickly. You don't want to rest it in any one place because it will melt very, very fast. It's going to set this pretty quickly, and you'll be able to see that your image will get darker, and that's because it's getting saturated with the wax. When that starts to happen, keep moving the heat gun. It doesn't take very long, maybe 30 seconds. So this is the heat gun I like to use. If any of you have watched tutorials for Tim Holtz, I'm sure that you have seen this heat gun. It's a really nice little unit. I've had the same one for about, I think 5 or 6 years, and I've been very, very happy with it. And I like the fact that it's fairly quiet. And also that it's nice and small. The big difference is between a heat gun and a blow dryer. If you've never used a heat gun before, they are not the same, because a blow dryer is primarily pumping out air, and although it can have heat or cold, it's really all about the airflow, whereas with this heat gun, it's really about the heat. And there's a big difference. You probably could use a blow dryer. The problem is that it's going to want to blow your paper around. So it's very important, if you're going to use a blow dryer because you don't have a heat gun, you can give it a try, see how it works. But again, you're going to have to really hold on to your image and your wax paper so it doesn't blow it out of alignment. Okay, so let's get started. Get our heat gun plugged in, and we're just going to turn that on. And I'm going to hold this up this way towards that camera so you can see how this works. It's going to heat pretty quickly, and again, you want to keep the camera moving, or keep the camera moving, keep your heat gun moving. And I can already feel that the wax is starting to melt. And most probably you can see that in the camera that this is starting to look very wet, and that's really what you want. You want to be able to see that the wax melting and the image adhering. But again, you do need to be careful that you don't overheat it because you don't want your wax to melt into puddles. I'm going to go ahead and lay this down because it's a little bit easier to do, and I don't want the wax to run down to the bottom of the candle, which it was already starting to do. Okay, you can see we got a little bit of wax on the mat here. And that's because I had it lifted up and it was coming down off the bottom. But basically, this is what you're left with then, is you've got this nice image that's been transferred to your candle. And I'm just going to go over and kind of smooth out any of the little rough spots in the image. Especially right around the edges. And there you go. You've got your nice candle with your image imprinted into it. And again, as long as you have a candle that's going to burn straight down the center, you shouldn't have any problems. So you'll see there's a little bit of dripping that happened here, and it's actually good that that happens, so you can see if you try to hold the candle upright when you're doing it, that's exactly what's going to happen. So make sure that you've got that wax paper when you put this on, that you've got it wrapped around there very tightly. First of all, wrap it around like this and hold it very tightly as you're turning your candle. It may be easier to do this with two people. Have one person hold the candle and rotate it while you use your heat gun, but I was able to do both of them by myself, and it went pretty well. And so now we've got a little candle that we can use for our Thanksgiving table. So here's another one that I did a little bit earlier, and this is another one of the really fun little clip art images, the little girl riding the turkey. And I just wanted to show you real quick that this one was actually done with a different material. It was done with this paper, which, if you've been around the industry for a while or you're into mixed media, you may have seen this kind of paper. This is called mulberry paper, and it's got the mulberry fibers still in it, and same thing, I just taped it around the edges like this and then fed it through the printer. And I'm going to show you up close just so you can see the fibers in the paper here. And then you would basically do the same thing with this. You would just take this and you would want to lay your cutter out and place your image down and find where you want to cut it. Leave a little bit of an edge, so you don't want to cut right to the edge of this unless you're going to cut those images out. You're going to want to just run your cutter across like this, and then you can either cut these into strips and put them onto the candle, or you could take your scissors and you could fussy cut around it and then put it into the candle, whichever you prefer. I prefer to have a little bit of a border around it, and it gives me a little bit of wiggle room when I'm adhering it to the candle. Another thing to think about is when you are putting, especially when it's a small fussy cut image like this, trying to hold that on the candle with that heat from the heat gun may be a little bit tough. So you may want to use just a little adhesive. I use this Scotch quick dry adhesive. It's a very, very nice adhesive. It dries pretty quickly. And I just took a very small amount, and I can show you quickly. Here's an image that I was using, and I just flipped that over and I took just a teeny bit of glue and I just kind of rubbed it there in a dark spot so it wouldn't show through when I adhered this to the candle. And then I just took this and laid it on the candle like so, lined it up the way I wanted it to be, and let it set for just maybe 30 seconds or so, so that it kind of gets itself adhered. And now you can see that I can operate the heat gun without having to hold this on. So again, for attaching this, you're going to want to take your wax paper, and in this case I need to put, this is my waxy side, and I'm going to wrap that around tightly. And let's move our cutter and things here, and we're going to move that around tightly, and we're going to again heat this image on, and again keep it flat and keep that heat gun moving. You don't want the wax to get built up. So as you can probably see with the camera, there's a little wet spot there where the glue was. That'll probably heat the quickest. And it's a little bit hot to hold. Once the wax starts melting, it's a little bit easier because it goes pretty quick at that point. So again, we're just letting this melt into the candle, not the wax paper on top. We're just using that to help get it positioned. But the image itself is now adhered, and I'm just going to very quickly go over the edges where the paper is. You see that paper, and just kind of blend that into the candle. And you won't want to roll over on that because it will be wet. It'll be wet wax. And there we go. So now we have another image that's been put on. It melts in very nicely. And we've got another candle for our Thanksgiving table. So hopefully you enjoyed the tutorial. Very quick, very easy, from the point that you grab your clip art file and you get it put into an email, or use Photoshop Elements or Photoshop or one of your other graphics programs, or something as simple as Microsoft Word or PowerPoint. Again, we will link to these things down in the show notes. We'll also link to them in our blog post, which will be referred to down there. And that way you can take a look at which way is going to be working best for you. And it really depends on what you need to do with the clip art. If you're just going to be printing out a very simple copy of clip art, and all you want to do is be able to cut it in the two different ways that I've shown you here today, then you could use something as simple as email. If you want to do some manipulation, use it in different formats, the way Monica did on the place cards that she did for the Thanksgiving table, then you'll want to put it into something that's a little bit more like a graphics program or Word, where you can either manipulate the way it lays out on their on the file, or where you can manipulate the way it lays out in columns. So it really depends on what your final project is going to be. But again, we'll link to all of these different ways that you can bring clip art into a printable format, and we'll show those at the end. So we talked a little bit about the giveaways, and I just wanted to mention again that if you watch any or all of these clip art tutorial videos and you comment, every time you comment, that's an entry into the giveaway. And again, the giveaway is for $25 in free clip art. You can do a little shopping spree over at Dover Pictura. And if you want to go check out the images that they have available and grab your 3 free images, visit our website at www.papercrafterscorner.com. Look on the right sidebar of the website and you'll see a cute little image, some images very similar to the ones I used here today. And those images, you can click on that and that'll take you right to the place where you can sign up and get your free clip art. We hope you enjoyed this today, and we strongly encourage you to follow us on our social media channels, Facebook.com/PaperCrafter's Corner. And we share lots of different information. We link to all of our blog posts there, but we also share some unique content that's not shared on the blog, and we also engage with our community quite a bit, and you'll notice that a lot of paper crafters talk to each other there as well. So we hope you'll join us there. We also share lots of information and inspiration, especially on Pinterest, and our page on Pinterest is PaperCrafter's C. Again, that's Pinterest.com/PaperCrafter's C. PaperCrafters all one word with a C at the end. So you can also visit us there. And in fact, we're going to have a board called PaperCraft Tutorials. And all of these tutorials will be linked there, so it'll be very easy for you to find the information that you're looking for. And lastly, we use Twitter. And on Twitter, we do a lot of kind of last-minute little surprise things. A lot of times we'll let people know about giveaways. When we are out at paper crafting events or stores, we'll share little tidbits and photos. Sometimes I visit antiquing or crafting events, vintage events, and I'll try to tweet live from those events. So it's kind of like being there. So hopefully you'll join us on there as well. And then lastly, we hope that you'll subscribe to the blog feed. We send out daily and weekly emails, and you can choose to get one or both. And those are really great for things like our challenges. It reminds you of what we have going on, and that way you never miss any of our prizes or giveaways or sneak peeks or any of the fun stuff that we do. So again, thanks so much for joining us today, and have a wonderful paper crafting day. Bye-bye.